All right, everyone. Well, welcome. I'm Colleen Rice. I'm Executive Director at Leadership Medina County, and I'm pleased to have with me today Janan Schuman and Rashil Rana, who are interns from John Carroll University. They did a micro internship with us this year, taking interviews that we did of over 100 leaders over the last 2 years. Were done by 3 of our classes, by our signature class of 2020, our signature class of 2021, and our emerging leaders class of 2020. Did all of these interviews throughout the community, and they look through all of that data and have some interesting information to share with you guys today. But just to get started, I just wanted Janan and Rashil just to tell us a little bit more about themselves, and then we'll get started with the presentation. Janan?
These focus groups at I'm making sure.
If everybody could go ahead and mute themselves, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Janan Schuman. I'll be a junior this upcoming fall semester at John Carroll University, and I'm studying biology, and I also have minors in data science and chemistry, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to do this project, because of my data science minor. And after I graduate, I kind of want to go into biology and research, or anything that relates with biology and data science. And I'm from Westlake, Ohio, so this project was very interesting to me because I was kind of like an outsider looking in, because I'm not from Medina County. So I'm glad you guys could all make it, and I'm happy to see all you guys here. I hope you're looking forward. I'm looking forward to the presentation. It's been a while, a long time coming.
Thank you so much, Janan. Rashil.
Hi, everyone. So I'm actually from a small town, Tiffin, Ohio. But I went to John Carroll. I actually graduated this May, so that's exciting. I majored in marketing with a double minor in entrepreneurship and leadership development. So hence, that's kind of why I went for this one. But right now I'm working at Synaptic, which is a marketing firm in Independence, Ohio. I'm also just took up studying for my real estate license for Ohio. So that's also just another little exciting tidbit about me. But yeah, I'm really excited to, do this presentation for you guys to learn more about Medina County and kind of like what we kind of worked on for these past 4 weeks.
Fantastic. And I see that we've got Celine down here too from John Carroll. Did you want to say anything about how we got involved with this micro internship with you guys?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. So glad to see that this is happening. I'm so proud of our students are making this happen too. I'm looking forward to your micro internship results outcomes. My name is Selan Zareli, and I am the Assistant Director at the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion here at John Carroll University. The reason that we thought of micro internships were basically in the middle of the pandemic, we saw that our students were graduating with no internships on hand and no experience in hand. And we came up with the idea about the micro internships. I connected with Colleen, and she was generous enough to provide this great internship opportunity. And again, I'm really excited that how the outcomes is, and I'm really proud of you both. So thank you, Colleen.
Thank you so much for piping in. It's good to see you here. I know you weren't sure if you were going to be able to make it, so we're glad that you're here. Well, then I'm going to turn everything over to Janan, who's going to go ahead and share her screen at this point, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. So like Colleen and Rashil and I mentioned, we did a project based off of interviews, and I'll go into that more later. And we basically compiled certain attributes that make that the leaders of Medina County feel that Medina County succeeds in, and kind of the attributes that they believe that Medina County should improve on to make a better community. So you guys could just give me a second, something happened. I'm still new at like the whole sharing thing in the, I can't find my thing fast. I'm gonna reshare, sorry.
You're doing great. We shared this earlier and went through it, and there were no problems at all, and that's how it usually happens. So
yeah. I think I just like pressed the wrong button.
No worries.
Okay, can you guys see it now?
No. Go ahead and try sharing one more time.
Okay, how about now?
I can see it now. Good job.
Okay, so like I mentioned, we based it off of the leader responses, And we determined the 5 attributes that Medina County should improve on and then that Medina County succeeds in. So last year, many leaders in Medina County were interviewed and kind of asked several questions regarding how life was like in Medina County. In total, there were 93 responses, and there were 6 questions that were asked in the interview, and me and Rachel kind of like split it up. He did 1, 3, and 6, and I did 2, 4, and 5. And the following questions are: what makes Medina County stand out as a place you want to work in or live in? What behaviors or attributes have undermined or continue to undermine progress and should be avoided in the future? And then what do you consider the top 3 factors leading to and continuing to drive Medina County success and why? When you think about some of the failures in the county or things that have delayed progress, what things come to mind that should be avoided moving forward? In your opinion, what makes Medina County different from other counties in Northeast Ohio and beyond? And then what makes it stand out? And then finally, when you think about the list of major successes in Medina County over the past 5, 10, and 30 years, what were the most important attributes and factors that made those accomplishments happen? So from these responses, Colleen and Rachel and I determined the top 5 attributes that the community believes Medina County succeeds in, the top 5 attributes that Medina County should work on to improve the community. So I'll now pass it on to Rachel so he could just discuss his part in the project.
Thanks, Janan. Okay, everyone. So just as Janan mentioned, so I did questions 1, 3, and 6. So after looking at the questions, dissecting more of it, understanding kind of like all of the leaders' responses, all of the interviewees' responses, I was able to actually look at it, dissect the information, and kind of highlight words that were reoccurring and come up with attributes that I felt that made Medina County a better place. So the following are the attributes. So I have the first one as commitment, and this is where leaders are proud of their community and want to make it even better. And the second is inclusive or inclusivity, which is where you welcome all community members to the table for discussion and decision making. The third attribute is united. This is where leaders care more about how things get done rather than who wins, and we do this all by working together. The fourth is a growth or a growing mindset, and this is where leaders work on responsible community development, And the fifth and final attribute is responsibility, and this is where you can all work together and build something great. Next slide, please. Perfect. So throughout the interviews, many of the interviewees' responses kind of felt support and fulfillment in this community over the bordering cities, counties, and other places in Cleveland. So I definitely wanted to find a word that could kind of help with this same sense of sensation, emotion, feeling towards the community. The word that I found that came with this is commitment. So in this, people feel great pride in this place, the parks, the schools, the location, and are committed to keeping Medina County a great place to work and live. We want to ensure that Medina County can use this attribute to their advantage and ensure that each community member is feeling the same, whether you are currently residing in Medina County or you're moving or anything like that. We want to make sure that everybody's feeling the same level of commitment moving forward with any of their endeavors. Next slide, please. So these are some of the testimonials. Me and Janan also did this. So kind of what we did was throughout all of the interviewees' responses, we've actually taken some of the exact phrases and answers that you and everybody else has actually created and mentioned, and we've put them in there just to kind of show that these are where our thought processes came when we thought of the word, for example, commitment. So I'll read the 2 testimonials that I have for this one. So Medina County has a mentality or culture to be family oriented and a mentality to strive to excel and have togetherness in the community. The second testimonial is great school systems, a very competitive community, proximity to come from Cleveland for a nice place to live and work, and a very strong community feel and safety. Next slide, please. So the next one that I have is inclusive or inclusivity. So in this, throughout my research, I found that many people felt like Medina County is a place that is very accepting and welcoming to all different types of people, as well as any new businesses or events that kind of go on and take place in the county. Everyone strives to be in it together and work for the common good. So inclusive or inclusivity, where those seek influence, not authority, encourage, not demand, they lead with hope and compassion. Next slide, please. So these are some of the testimonials that I found throughout all of the interview questions and things like that I felt could really back up as to why inclusive or inclusivity is kind of a really great attribute that makes Medina County a great place to live. So people really work well in different communities, and when there's collaboration, it leads to success. In the business community today, the leadership is caring, compassionate, and willing to give anyone who needs it or asks for assistance. This sense of community permeates the success of the county. People get involved. They get involved in school events. We travel well, charities, church, and really any community-sponsored event. This connectivity creates a connected community, and it takes a village thought process. This last quote really kind of encompassed it all as to why I chose the word inclusive or inclusivity, just because it's a great place to be. Next slide, please. So the third attribute that I have is united. So we are all as one, and we will continue to succeed together as a unit than individually. In Medina County, I was able to see through the data that Medina County kind of has this aura of a great sense of community. Mentioned several times that anyone who is there, anyone is there for each other and ready to build each other up. Furthermore, my research suggested that Medina County, everyone really stands together rather than individually. Next slide, please. So testimonials talking about this. Again, the people's willingness to work together for the betterment of the community is one of those contributing factors. This is also seen in the cooperation among local businesses and the local communities as well. Groups of diverse people working together was also substantial, just as the communication between different cities, townships, and entities was another factor. So just again, united, when you're branching out and working with other townships, other communities, other counties around you, it just shows that Medina County has this amazing united front. Next slide, please. So the fourth attribute was the growth or growing mindset. Leaders are making Medina County better by investing in businesses, education, and more. In Medina County, the biggest thing I saw from my interview search was the aspect of Medina County being this place of growth, whether that's taking in new businesses, adopting new mentalities, education, population growth, or even individual growth. This word was, something that really encompassed it all. In the efforts to make Medina County a better place to live, there will forever need to be a growth or a growing mindset of the people. And this will even help foster and develop new practices on areas that maybe Medina County's not growing so much in. Next slide, please. So some testimonials that kind of just back up, the growth or growing mindset attribute. The room to build more commercial and residential land is extensive. The education systems is growing, keeping people up with current times, connecting students with resources, and always being efficient and finding new methods. Next slide, please. So the fifth and final attribute that we have is responsibility. Coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. In this, leaders are involved and we aren't afraid of work. The biggest thing that I saw is that Medina County is a place where community members themselves take responsibility for the actions of the growing community. Throughout my own research, I found that the interviews mentioned how Medina County takes care of its members and always looks for the better good in every situation. For example, if there's an issue with education, Medina County actually takes responsibilities of this and makes the education something great that every student can benefit from. The willingness the county has towards its community members is something amazing and something to cherish. Next slide, please. So we have a large number of citizens who are fully engaged, and the ability to work and come together for any desired solution. So these are kind of the 5 attributes that I found that make Medina County a better place to live. And then I'm going to pass it off to my partner, Janan, who will finish off the presentation.
Thank you, Rashiel. So like I mentioned earlier, I'll be discussing the top 5 attributes that could be improved to make Medina County a better place according to the leaders of the community and the interview responses. So I kind of, like Rashiel mentioned, I kind of made some definitions along with the attributes. So I'm just going to do like a brief summary of it all, and then I'll go further in depth in the following slides. So many believe that Medina County should be a well-balanced community that's inclusive, affordable, and diverse, and also has easy access to transportation for everyone. So the first attribute that many believe Medina County should work on is becoming a well-balanced community. So we should strive to balance growth and change in our community while also maintaining our wonderful community traditions. So this also relates to progression and proaction. So like I mentioned in the questions, there was one question, I think it was the second question, of what were certain factors that undermined the progress in Medina County or continue to. And something that a lot of people mentioned that I found really interesting was a lot of people said that Medina County is very, I don't want to say stuck on traditions, but they're very tradition oriented. And because of that, there is a lack of growth in the community. Many believe that. But then they also believe that traditions and the rich history of Medina County are what make the county stand out and unique. So there should be a balance between the two in order for Medina County to progress further. And we should build a community where we act to achieve our goals rather than wait for our goals to be achieved. So some testimonials or responses that stood out for me for this attribute were there needs to be a balance between tradition, history, and growth. Medina County small town charm can undermine progress because people are locked in their traditions and not willing to welcome new ideas. And then there's the mentality that if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And then finally, there are closed-minded folks who are the barriers to success and project progress. And that just goes back to the attribute of how Medina County should strive to become a well-balanced community. So the second attribute the people of Medina County feel they should improve on is being more inclusive. So the interesting thing about this one is, like you saw in Rashil's presentation, many felt that Medina County inclusivity was something that Medina County succeeds in. However, that I noticed that like majority of people who said Medina County wasn't inclusive were a part of minority communities such as people of color, the LGBTQ community, and those of lower economic statuses. So I found this really interesting how some felt it was inclusive and some wasn't. And then it kind of like begged the question of whether is Medina County truly inclusive if some feel like they aren't welcomed and some do. So moving on to some of the responses and testimonials that stood out to me for this were there is a desire for exclusivity among residents, and I feel that is counterproductive to our community. Many in Medina County tend to focus more on me rather than we. And then this one stood out to me the most because like I mentioned earlier, I'm not from Medina County, so I had no idea about this part of Medina County's history. The blemish on Medina County's history is the years of intolerance and racism with the presence of the KKK as the focal point. So the next attribute many believe Medina County should improve on is affordability. And for this, we should allow for residents of all means and backgrounds to live and thrive in our community. So there were several different things that were mentioned under affordability. Some mentioned that there isn't a real homeless shelter or there are no real resources for the homeless or low-income citizens in Medina County. Others discussed that they found the housing not to be very affordable in the county. And then some others discussed that it's kind of difficult maintaining small businesses in Medina County, and it's also difficult expanding them as well. And some also mentioned that they believe there's little work opportunity in Medina County, and many go to other surrounding counties, such as Cuyahoga County, for work instead of staying inside of Medina. And they believe the issues within the economy also add to the unaffordability of the county. So some testimonials or responses that I picked for affordability were there's a lack of low-income housing and resources for people in need, and that is a hindrance to the progress of Medina County. There's a denial that there are people in need. Some communities are not business friendly, and as such, there is a lack of community support for small businesses. And then finally, there's also a lack of awareness of the difficulties that exist for many Medina County residences. In light of the pandemic and strain this has placed on the local economy, these difficulties impact many more residents than just what existed a year ago. So the fourth attribute many believe Medina County should improve on is transportation. And we should improve the means in which individuals travel and reach destinations. So transportation encompasses everything from traffic in the county to public transportation for those who need it and what it's like traveling through the county. So the first thing that a lot of people mentioned was they feel like there's no real public transportation system that is accessible for everybody in Medina County. In the next page, you'll see that there's actually a testimonial where they said that they feel like Medina County, there's certain areas where like some public transportation services don't reach it at all. And then some others mentioned that difficulty driving throughout the county due to the traffic and the way certain areas connect or don't connect. And then some also mentioned the congestion throughout the county in certain areas, specifically inside of like business areas or plazas. They feel like there's a lot of congestion. And then some mentioned the roads and highways, and they said it was really difficult to navigate to or enter. And the top attribute related to transportation that I feel like almost everybody mentioned was the bypass in Medina County. So some of the testimonials for transportation are, we need to provide public transportation to both assist those in need and ensure that they aren't limited to the enjoyment of all that Medina has to offer. And then the next one is a definite issue for Medina County's business community is transportation, specifically the ease of access to and from the highway. And then finally, there's no true public transportation because of how the public transportation currently works. Many areas do not connect and some areas don't have access to it at all. The final attribute that I feel like a lot of people I think almost everybody in the interview mentioned this for the second question that I mentioned earlier, of what is something that undermines the progress of Medina County, and that is diversity. Many feel that Medina County should improve on diversity. So we should incorporate all the attributes that make individuals unique to be a successful community. So there were many responses, like I mentioned. I think almost everybody included this. And it kind of brought up two main questions. So the first question is, what is diversity to Medina County? And many people just define diversity as the key to success, which I feel like is a very brief but powerful definition to what diversity is and the importance of diversity. And then the next question is, who are we talking about when we're talking about being diverse? We are talking about accepting people of all races, all sexes, all religions, all sexual orientations, all mental abilities, all physical abilities, all cultures, all backgrounds, all socioeconomic statuses, all beliefs, and etc. It's just accepting and being able to live with other people and being tolerant. And going back to like the second attribute that I mentioned of inclusivity. So some of the testimonials for diversity that stood out to me was Medina County needs more diversity and involvement to succeed. The lack of diversity in Medina County undermines its progress. And then finally, the lack of diversity in the county hurts us. We need to figure out how to increase diversity. So now that was the end of my portion and the end of our presentation. So now I'll open the floor to anybody who, if they have any questions.